Luke, welcome
Howdy.
to the SAINTCON hallway.
Thank you, thank you.
You have a hacker handle, or two maybe?
I would say I have one hacker handle, and then I have a few other nom de plumes. So.
All right, what is your hacker handle, for the record?
I have gone by A, just the letter A.
And was this earned, assigned?
1994?
94.
Yeah, so I was signing up for the internet, and back in the day, X-Mission, Utah's original homegrown internet provider, you would dial up to their modem pool, and if you didn't authenticate via PPP, you could go through an interactive script that let you create an account. The script was effective, but not exactly user-friendly. So one of the questions was, choose a username. This will be your email address, maximum of 8 characters, because, this was way back in the day. But it didn't say a minimum. And so I was testing to see what the minimum was. I hit A, enter. It's like, congratulations, you've created your account. You're now known as
A.
So it's like, oh yeah, that works.
The first, you are A.
Oh.
And when did you get into the InfoSec community?
I remember reading 2600 magazine in 90, it would have been like 93, 94, purchased from Hastings Entertainment in their magazine section, magazines, and just loved the mindset and all that. Did a little bit of BBSing and text files and all that as well, but probably didn't really get into hacking or anything like that until the late 90s, high school, getting up to no good. And I started to go to the 2600 meetings in 2000, 2001-ish, when there was a ZCMI Center Mall in Salt Lake.
Right,
it
downtown.
was the first Friday of every month at 5 or 6 by the payphone. And
Was there anybody in the community here anybody in this community here now at SAINTCON that was also going to that?
yeah, Grifter, I was just chatting with Vortex. He was like 12 at the time, I swear. But Conf, who I don't see him, but he was just over there. Kopek, right there. We had a pretty big crew that would come down from up north, and then people from all over the valley, and we would hang out on IRC otherwise, and then meet up on the first Friday of every month.
And how did that expand to, what was the first DEF CON? Like, when are you guys are like, we're going to go from ZCMI, from this Utah thing, and get into a broader community?
Yeah, Grifter had been going to DEF CONs for a few years before, but my first DEF CON was DEF CON 10, and it was Grifter talking about it at a 2600 and explaining what it was all about and everything, and the talks and all the contests and the shenanigans. And so piled into, met up at D's on, it's like 30th South and State Street. I don't know if it's still there or not. Anyway, and so we'd meet up at D's at 10 or 11 and then hit the road and drive overnight and show up at the Alexis Park and try and check in at 10 a.m. and they told us no way. And so crash out in the lobby there for an hour or 6 and then eventually get our rooms, and way too many people per room. But yeah, it was awesome back then.
And further stuff in the community, when did you here locally do like your first SAINTCON? You know what year that was?
I don't know which. Oh no, I can figure it out. So it was, it would have been 2000, either 2000. It was probably 2008, because the head of UETN, and it was very much or UEN back then. It was very much a UEN security conference. I think it was called Utah Saints that year, but maybe it was just 1 or 2 years in. And he spoke about, well, with the economy having some troubles right now, budgets are going to be tight, but we've been through this kind of cycle before, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, 2008, I was still an hourly employee / intern at my day job, but went along with and met up with a few of the folks from DEF CON. One guy who had been brought in as a keynote, who I'd seen for a couple of years just do DEF CON like DEF CON was done 20 years ago, and then put on a button-down shirt and get paid to come out as a hired dog and pony show person to come out to this middle of nowhere Richfield, Utah security conference because UEN had spent a bunch of money with the company to give a keynote on security. I was like, dude, blah. I don't want to dox him, but
right.
So that was kind of a weird thing for that person, and then myself as well. But
And then how did you escalate in SAINTCON? Because when I came in, you're like building badges, you're part of the committee, you're doing lots of things. I don't know that part between that. So how did you go from I went to the con, we're here in Richfield, to, you know what, I'm going to help run this thing?
It was, I think the first year we had it at Weber State. So it was Richfield, and then it was down at Dixie for now Utah Tech for a year or two. That was awesome because it was, and the Richfield one was too. It was, I love what SAINTCON has become, but a little bit of nostalgia for the old. Everybody was in one room for 2-3 days, and you were at every talk, and you got to see everything. And then the Hackers Challenge was shenanigans happening while you're ignoring a talk.
Right.
And so went from that to they wanted to expand a bit, and I can't remember how the conversation happened, but they ended up coming up to where I work for my day job, and I was involved with running the network there, and I said, let me help you with some network. Let me help you, or let me be a gracious host, a good host, and we're going to improve the network a bit and make sure that there's good Wi-Fi for all the attendees. So.
Oh, and the badge tie-in, I think I remember that was because they were putting Wi-Fi on the badge, and there was something in the parking lot with Wi-Fi.
Not the first year. I'd been doing it at DEF CON. You hang out with Grifter and you end up getting wrangled into things. You know this very well. So at DEF CON, I'd become, I'd volunteered and become a goon for various things, and helped with the movie channel, and then something else in there as well. But then ended up helping out with the hardware hacking village at DEF CON. So Lost and Russ, and I think Joe was involved a bit as well, Joe Grand, and they were like, hey, so the year before, hacking out in the hallway and doing things in the hallway with like a robot or hardware or something, wouldn't it be cool if there was a space, do some soldering, make sure we don't burn down the hallway. But they are all very, very busy gentlemen, or were back then with DEF CON and helping to run it at much higher levels. And I was studying computer engineering at the time. I was a helpful person, and I said, I can help run it boots on the ground. So they made it happen, and then I made it happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
you executed it.
I executed, yes. They were leadership and talked Russ and Jeff and Grifter and everybody into it as a good idea, and lined it all up, and then helped us kick it off. And then they had very important things to do during the con, and I didn't. So I was there and helped make it a thing for I want to say 8 or 9 or 10 years. I was the boots on the ground person for the hardware hacking village, and then Kelly, because it was kind of the Troy and Kelly show back then. Kelly knew that I was a hardware hacking kind of guy. He said, "Oh, you know what? Actually, there was one year where the all attendees. It was the first year at Weber State. All attendees got in our Raspberry Pi 1, and we did some stuff with that. And then the next year it was Kelly wanted to do a hardware hacking village at SAINTCON." And I said, well, but what are we going to do? We need a project, we need a kit, we need a something. And that kind of devolved to be an electronic badge. So, and it was basically an Arduino with big proto area and a couple of LEDs lighting a plexiglass little screen. Everybody, all 150, 200 attendees would get acrylic sheets with their name laser etched in it, and then you shine some light from the side into it, and it looks cool. It's a little sign. So that was my first electronic badge.
That's the first SAINTCON I went to.
Oh, really?
I have that badge.
Nice.
Yeah. And then you spun off and created small mini badge designs. And you open source that?
We did a couple of years of electronic badges. We did that one, and then we had one where I call it the kitchen sink badge. We had a X Mega processor, which is like the big brother of the little app Mega that Arduinos use. It had a TFT LCD screen, a buzzer, a whole bunch of sensors, accelerometer, button layout like a NES controller, and
is that the Pi Zero one?
No. So this one was before the Pi Zero one, but that the kitchen sink badge we actually had manufactured by a contract electronics manufacturer here in the States, and that was a learning curve. Because it went from buying parts from Thailand and China and Adafruit and all these places to, we need reels of these, and I need to spec an exact blah for this capacitor. I need to specify an exact model number, and that was falling in the deep end of a pool that I'd only been in, like not just the kiddie pool, but the toddler splash pad area. And then I felt like I fell into the deep end on that one. But Clint Holmes did amazing software for it. We did some cool stuff with, I think we got it working with the Wi-Fi providing the location to the badge, and it had like a map, and it would show you blue dot style where you were at. That one used in ESP 826 whatever, before the ESP32, the chip from before that. So that's what that guy had on him. But that was a pretty expensive badge and was really cool, but didn't really have too much of a wow factor. And then I think Jonathan did a badge. I'm trying to remember the order, but basically we had like an expensive, cheaper. But Jonathan did a couple of the badges. But then 2 or 3, I guess it'd be 3 or 4 years in of doing electronic badges for SAINTCON, Troy had requested for a couple of years he wanted to do merit badges that you could earn in the villages, which is kind of what the mini badges have become. But so he'd asked for it, wasn't ready to do it. But then one year we were doing a badge with custom PCB, and we had lined up a Raspberry Pi Zero. I don't even think it was a 0W. No, it was a 0W. We had the Wi-Fi model. But through contacts, we were able to, long before the chip shortage, we were able to reach out to Eben Upton, the main person behind Raspberry Pi, and say, hey, we'd like to buy 500 Raspberry Pi Zero Ws and SD cards. And once again, it's like personal life and, work, money, budgets and all that. It's like, but just add zeros and whatnot. But arranging for a ridiculously expensive order on a business account directly from Raspberry Pi trading company, whatever they call corporations in the UK, was just kind of weird. But. So it was that badge when we decided we wanted to do the Raspberry Pi Zero and an LCD screen, and then there was room on the side, and I said, okay, let's do your mini badge or your merit badge project. And so it was over the summer, I toyed around with different designs and layouts and tried to figure out, it's like, okay, let's do about 1 inch by 1 inch, but we need to not have the pins all the way to the edge. What do we want to do for power? What other features, what other signals and pins and whatnot do we want to route into it? And so put quite a bit of thought into what we do and don't want to do with that, and deciding to keep the power to the edge was really fortuitous. Lots of people do badges where it's just 4 pins or 8 pins just on the outsides to have more art. But so that one was a challenging badge with much better art than we'd done before that, but still nothing to the level. I mean, the MK folks, they are amazing. They have the art chops that I don't have any visually creative bones in my body.
What was your first reaction to Troy asking for the merit badge?
Troy asks for things all the time, and he's the CEO type that asks for silly things and wants it all in a pony too. And so, you just kind of, yeah. But then after a few times, you start to think about it, and you're like, okay, this could be cool. And we had villages by then, so it was like, okay, each village could have a badge, and you could show off where you'd spent time and completed challenges. That makes sense. I'm liking it. Let's do it.
At that point, when you sold yourself on the ask enough to put in the effort, any even close inclination of what it's become now?
No. I thought that a few of the really nerdy folks like myself might do their own badge. It's one of those, the barrier to being creative with a circuit board was a lot higher back then. So now there's quite a few more tools and scripts, and there's a whole community with Badge Life that has really sprung up around electronic badges in general. But a lot of the techniques and the tools really work well for even a smaller form factor like a mini badge that just makes it so much more approachable for people to be able to do just the coolest designs and the coolest art, and butterfly wings and a beating heart and all sorts of blinky lights and microcontrollers on mini badges. So your microcontroller or computer-based badge has microcontrollers on the mini badges, and
Badge on badge.
Badge on badge on badge.
Of all the mini badge that you have seen, what's one that you're just like, I can't believe somebody did that?
Redacted's looks really, really cool this year. I don't know who he or she or they are. I've never met the person, but that one's blown me away with really cool LED matrix, but then also stacked layers of polycarbonate and PCB and some really cool stuff there.
So these are like your grandbabies laying around, yeah?
It's like It's almost like a virus that's escaped the lab. Like this is not like I came up with the let's put 8 pins on the top row and 8 pins on the bottom row, spaced at 0.8 and about an inch by an inch. But I thought they would all be kind of square and ugly and functional. And now people are doing all sorts of different shapes and sizes and X and Y and Z and 2 by 2 and there's a 9 by 9 mini badge, and it's just like.
And like participants are making them.
Yeah, people who aren't even at the con are making mini badges. Like somebody's like, oh yeah, this somebody sent me these to hand out. They're not even here. And
somebody's walking up and like, hey, have you seen this mini badge? And I'm like, no. And like, oh, it's my personal thing I made on my own free time and my own money, and it's just wild.
Yeah, people trade them like Pokemon cards, and yeah, it's
wild.
Yeah, I always to complete the saga after many years of mini badging and running networking and all that, I've retired and then some. But I try and come down for at least a day every year and see what folks are up to. And for the last few years, I've thought like, I got to make sure to make some of my mini badge designs that I've already done, and I just need to have some new PCBs made. I got to do that so that I can trade. But I haven't for the last few years, but still people just come up and like, oh, you're Luke? Cool. Hey, thanks for making this. Here's the one I made. I'm like, oh, thanks. And so I have a stack of mini badges I need to go home and make now, and I haven't given anybody anything. So,
Great. All right, last question for you. A lot of people have a hard time approaching people because they don't feel like they have something in common or something of interest. What's something that is like something you do outside of InfoSec that if somebody approached you and started talking, you guys could have instant rapport about that?
I'm going to flip it.
Okay.
I heard the idea recently, and I really wish I would have taken better note of who it was that said it. I want to say it was Travis Goodspeed or one of the awesome folks who do just amazing things in the hacker community. But they said, if you're at a con and you want to approach somebody and chat them up, don't ask them who they work for, what their job is. Ask them what they've been hacking on. Ask them what they've been excited about, what they're tinkering with.
Yeah, latest project.
I loved that idea of, there's people like talking about themselves, but we've been trained so much to not do that, to be humble and to be, well, I don't know about. So many people in InfoSec and IT are more introverted folks, and they don't want to open up. But if you ask people questions about what they're doing or what they're interested in, they open up a lot better, a lot quicker than if you ask them questions about themselves. And that's just been rattling around in my brain for the last couple of weeks. That's so insightful for me.
So if somebody wants to approach Luke and chat with them, just say, hey man, what are you working on lately? What are you tinkering at?
Yeah.
Perfect.
What have you been doing in your spare time that's got you really excited? And what have you been playing with?
Love it. Thank you for joining me in the SAINTCON hallway.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy the rest of con. And
thank you. Thanks for the chat. It's been real fun.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks.
Okay.